Breaking news. Simulation. U.S.-Iran tensions rise. U.S. Air Force F-22. Raptor scrambles in seconds, 3:18 a.m. The Gulf's air picture flips from routine to redline. On the wall-sized scope inside the Combined Air Operations floor, the Iranian coastline is a calm curve of dots until it isn't. Multiple unknown tracks spike off the shoreline at once, fast and low, inconsistent with civilian routing and too clustered to be chance. They do not line up with filed corridors. They do not behave like lost traffic. They behave like a question thrown at the region with a clenched fist. In the same window, a second signal arrives, quieter and worse. Electronic surveillance registers disciplined radar behavior sweeping toward a coalition patrol corridor. Not casual search, not weather, not training. The sweep cadence looks like fire control logic, the kind you use when you want to hold something at risk. 2 words cut across the net and change the temperature of the night. Scramble. Raptor. If you're new here, hit like right now, because the next minutes are where a crisis turns into a headline. An alert cell on a U.S. Air Force base near the water goes from sleep to checklist. Lights slam on. Doors bang. Boots hit concrete. A pilot is awake before his brain fully is, because time is a weapon and hesitation is a liability. You see it in fragments. A flight bag yanked off a chair, gloves grabbed on the run, a helmet clipped in one motion. On the ramp, ground crew are already moving, pulling covers, checking panels, confirming fuel, confirming weapons status without drama. The F-22. Raptor is not a plane you warm up. It is a system you release. Inertial systems align. Data loads. The cockpit comes alive with green symbology and quiet tones. The pilot straps in and his world compresses to oxygen flow, throttle detents, and a radio voice that refuses to panic. Controller. Raptor flight, unknown tracks, low altitude, multiple. Commit on launch. Pilot, Raptor 1, ready. Engine spool. The runway becomes a launch rail. The first Raptor rolls, surges, and lifts into the black, climbing hard and clean. No bravado, no radio show, just altitude, speed, and options. A second jet follows. Then a third. Out over the Gulf, the surface looks peaceful from far away. Dark water, faint ship lights, a still horizon. From the cockpit, it is geometry with lives attached to every line. AWACS paints the picture like it is reading a countdown. Multiple unknowns. No transponders. Speeds inconsistent. Possible unmanned. Possible manned. Possible decoys. Possible is a blade. Because in this region, possible becomes impact fast. The Raptors go quiet on the radio, not for drama, but because silence reduces mistakes. Their job is to sanitize airspace, identify, shadow, and force a decision. Sensors reach into darkness and turn it into distance. They look down through sea clutter and temperature layers. They separate noise from motion, motion from intent. Then the pressure point lights up on every display. A high-value corridor where coalition patrol aircraft transit, where tankers orbit, where ships thread the broader approaches to the strait. One unknown track turns, not drifting, not wandering. It angles toward that corridor like it was always meant to. On the ground, analysts lean in. On the net, the controller's tone tightens. Controller. Raptor flight, commit. Declare ID when able. The lead Raptor lowers the nose and accelerates. The jet does not roar. It slides forward like the air agreed to get out of the way. Inside the cockpit, the pilot runs arithmetic that never shows on screen. Time to intercept. Time to impact. Rules of engagement. Who else is in the sky? What else might be hiding behind the first wave? Because one misread track becomes a downed aircraft. One delayed intercept becomes a missile on a ship. The unknown behavior is wrong for a civilian, but it is also wrong for a clean military run. Too low, too jagged, too performative. And that is where the first twist forms. What if the attack is not the shot? What if the attack is the signal? Electronic warfare specialists flag the radar sweeps again. Fire control style behavior toward that corridor could be a probe, a deliberate poke designed to trigger a predictable scramble, push fighters into known lanes, collect electronic fingerprints, and claim a propaganda win. The unknown remains dark. No navigation lights, no transponder, no radio calls. It stays low, exploiting sea clutter like it was trained to. The Raptors close anyway. You are not watching from a feed now. You are a sailor on a coalition ship running night watch in that corridor. The deck smells like fuel and salt. The lights are dim. Everyone is tired in that 3 o'clock way where your body is asleep but your job is not. Then the alert hits. Unknown inbound, Raptors scrambling. You look up and see nothing, just stars and black water. But you feel the posture change anyway. People move faster, voices get shorter. The ship's radar becomes the center of someone else's decision. Back in the air, the lead pilot gets the first cleaner read. Contact, single, small cross-section. No visible lights, small. That could mean drone, it could mean decoy, it could mean something built to slip through gaps. And now the question that hangs over every escalation arrives. Do you warn it off? Do you lock it? Or do you fire? Right now, controllers are double-checking tracks, headings, and altitude blocks, because one wrong label becomes a wrong decision. The pilots are not hunting glory. They are hunting clarity, turning uncertainty into a smaller box. Every second the dot stays unclassified, the corridor feels tighter, and the options feel fewer. Somewhere, on the far side of the water, someone is watching the response time and writing down the result. The Gulf stays quiet, and that quiet is deceptive. Hold, watch, decide, breathe. The track turns again, slightly higher, slightly faster, just enough to be interpreted, just enough to dare somebody into a mistake. On the command net, you hear the collision of two worlds, politics and physics. One voice asks about restraint, another asks about time to impact. The Raptors don't get the luxury of debating it, they get seconds. The lead jet shifts to an intercept geometry that keeps options open, close enough to identify, far enough to avoid being baited into a collision course. The wingman stays offset, hunting for the second object that often hides behind the first. AWACS. Additional unknowns fading. Primary track remains. Corridor threat possible. The sky is clearing, which means the one remaining dot is either the point of the probe or the point of the attack. Raptor 1 requests a hostile criteria check. Controller. Hostile intent requires inbound toward protected assets, failure to comply with warnings, or demonstrated targeting behavior. Hold fire unless criteria met. Hold fire. Easy to say from a room. Heavy to carry at Mach speed. Sensors refine the picture. The object is small, low, and cold enough to confuse quick assumptions. Not a civilian aircraft, not a clean fighter profile. It's either unmanned, or it's something trying very hard to look unmanned. The lead pilot makes the first move that doesn't involve weapons. He pushes a warning profile, visible presence, aggressive positioning, an unmistakable, you are being escorted posture. But the unknown doesn't respond. It continues inbound. And now the electronic picture sharpens, and this is where the story turns from dramatic to dangerous. The same fire control style radar behavior returns. Brief, disciplined, pointed. Not continuous but timed like someone is sampling the corridor. A voice calls it out on the net. Possible targeting behavior. Correlates with primary track. This is the moment where commanders start thinking about ships, because a radar sweep that lines up with a corridor is not just an air problem. It's a maritime problem. On a carrier deck hundreds of miles away, night crews keep working. Catapult teams reset. A fuel crew drags hoses. The ship is a city that doesn't stop until a missile makes it stop. You are that sailor again, on the watch team, hearing the same phrase over and over. Maintain readiness. Readiness sounds calm. Readiness means your heart rate is lying. Back in the cockpit, the pilot's voice is steady, but the timeline is not. Unknown is inside the corridor boundary. Recommend escalation. Controller. Execute warnings. Attempt communication. Stand by. Warnings go out. Radio calls on guard in English and in simple phrasing. There is no response. The pilot tries again because every attempt matters later. No response. The unknown climbs again, just enough to break sea clutter, and now it is plainly inbound. Hostile intent is building line by line. The Raptor's radar locks briefly, then releases. An intentional message, not a shot. A silent statement that says, "We see you. We can follow you. You do not get to surprise us." Still, no response. AWACS. Track speed increasing. Corridor intercept window shrinking. This is the cliff edge. Because the next step is the one you cannot undo. The lead pilot asks one more time. Confirm, engage authority if track continues inbound. The answer comes like a key turning in a lock. Raptor 1, you are cleared to engage if the track fails to comply and continues toward protected assets. Minimize collateral. Confirm ID to best ability. Cleared. That word is a switch. The pilot closes another few miles, pushing for identification. In the dark, shape is hard, but the behavior is now clear. It isn't trying to avoid. It isn't trying to communicate. It is trying to enter. Here's the second twist. The object suddenly turns, sharp, deliberate, toward open water, away from the corridor. It's like someone off stage pulled a string, and that exposes the real game. Because a genuine strike platform doesn't usually give you a clean exit. A probe does. A decoy does. A test does. The Raptor shadows holding position, refusing to be dragged into Iranian airspace, refusing to give a clean propaganda frame. The controller's voice is tight. Do not cross. Maintain international airspace. Maintain track. Electronic warfare calls in a key assessment. Radar behavior ceased. Likely probe concluded. Possible data collection attempt. That means someone just ran a drill against coalition reaction time. Time from first spike to forced decision. Roughly 11 minutes. But the danger isn't over. Because the lesson of a probe is not that it ends. It's that it returns. Better, tighter, and closer to the line. On the net, a senior voice drops the line that tells you this was bigger than one track. Assume follow-on activity. Increase CAP. Harden the corridor. Harden. That's doctrine language 4. Treat tonight like the rehearsal for tomorrow. And now, the geopolitical layer snaps into place. In Tehran, state media can claim they forced U.S. fighters to scramble. In Washington, officials can say they protected international airspace. In the Gulf, ships and pilots simply mark another night where the margin was thin. This is why the F-22 matters here. Not because it wants a fight, because it denies surprises, because it compresses the window where someone can gamble with the straight. And if you think this is just theater, remember this. Radar probes, track games, and low-altitude intrusions are how miscalculation starts. We hit the closing sequence. What the Raptors learned, what doctrine changes after tonight, and why the next contact could be the one that doesn't turn away. I comment Raptor if you want more of these time-stamped breakdowns. The Gulf stays quiet, and that quiet is deceptive. Hold, watch, decide, breathe, steady, ready, now. The Raptors stay on station longer than the headlines will ever admit. Not chasing glory, building certainty, confirming the track's exit, watching for a second wave, because the most dangerous moment is right after the first moment passes. The unknown fades back toward the coast and disappears into the noise. No splash, no explosion, no dramatic fireball. That silence is the point, because the probe did what it needed to do. Measure reaction time, map patrol geometry, test radar behavior, and see what happens when you push the corridor. And now, the strategic takeaway. The doctrine lesson. Lesson 1. Speed is deterrence. Tonight proved that seconds matter. From first spike to Raptors airborne, the region watched how quickly the U.S. can put fifth-generation air power between an unknown and a protected asset. Lesson 2. Restraint is also a weapon. The Raptors didn't cross lines they didn't need to cross. They didn't give the other side a clean picture of escalation. They held international airspace, held formation discipline, and refused the bait. Lesson 3. The next time may be cleaner, and that's worse. A probe is messy by design, a strike is not. If the next contact flies steadier, climbs less, and commits harder, you won't get the luxury of wondering. This is what the public misses. Escalation doesn't begin with a speech. It begins with a dot that turns inbound. So here's the final question. Because I want you engaged, and because this is the argument of our era. Was tonight a warning that prevented disaster, or a rehearsal that makes the next night more dangerous? If you think the U.S. response was justified, comment deterrence. If you think it risks escalation, comment too far. And subscribe, because in this region, the next 3:18 a.m. might not end with a turn away. After the sortie, maintenance teams will inspect panels like detectives reading fingerprints. Intel crews will archive radar hits, comm snippets, and timing, frame by frame. Rules of engagement will be reviewed because tonight forced them to the edge. Patrol corridors will shift a few miles, and everyone will pretend that is routine. Every pilot will remember how the target did not answer the first warning. Every watchstander will remember how quiet the sea felt while the dot moved. In this region, silence is not peace. It is simply the pause between tests. The strategic win tonight is control, speed without overreaction, restraint without hesitation. The strategic loss is data. Both sides learned something they can reuse. Probes are designed to be deniable because deniability buys political space. But deniable does not mean harmless when the corridor is packed with people. A single confused call on guard frequency can start a chain no one can stop. That is why the Raptor's real weapon is time. Stolen back from surprise. Tonight's message travels faster than jets. The corridor is watched, and it reacts. Hold, watch, decide, breathe, steady, ready, again, now. Hold, watch, decide, breathe.